How many, please?
Well, I don't know.
Well, we've still got 73 miles to go.
Yes, that's if we stick on the main highway. Say, mister.
Yeah?
Is this the only way to get to Palm Springs?
Oh, no. There are several ways. I would suggest that from here, you head straight for Saturn, turn right to Mars, make a left to Jupiter, then head for the moon, and then...
Wait a minute. Mars, Jupiter, the moon?
Yeah. Ain't this a rocket ship?
Just put in some gas, will you?
Ethyl or regular?
Regular.
Better make it ethyl.
Look, Rochester, the last time we came through here, we went pretty fast. What did we use then?
Nothing. We'd lock bumpers with a Greyhound bus.
Wait a minute! What are you doing?
I'm sorry. I thought you had a windshield.
Here, let me wipe the bugs off your glasses.
Look, never mind. Well, have you made up your mind whether you want regular or ethyl?
Regular.
Okay.
The water and oil's fine.
Or as long as the hood is up, check my battery.
Okay. Looks okay to me.
How many?
I'll tell you when to stop. Let me know how many you're putting in.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. 10.
What happened to the bell?
What do you want, gas or music?
How much do I owe you?
Let's see, 10 gallons, that'll be $2.80.
280. Here, wait a minute. There.
Thank you. And the next time you pass this gas station, please do.
All right, wise guy. Come on, Rochester, start the car.
Yes, sir.
Rochester, start it again, will you?
Yes.
Well, what are you staring at? This car will get us there. You've heard of the story of the tortoise and the hare, haven't you?
No, but if you're going to tell her, keep your voice down. My wife is in the office.
Not that kind of a story. Come on, Rochester.
Yes.
Say, Bud, which way to Palm Springs?
The Palm Springs? Well, you... Oh, just follow us.
Oh, calm down.
And now,
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
again,
Button up my sleeve. Presto! No doubt about it. I gotta get another hat.
now here's something we hope you'll really like.
Hi, this is Dan Woods, the host of Chop Cut Rebuild on the Speed Channel, and you're listening to Nostalgic Radio and Cars.
Okay, you're tuning to the Celebrating Cars. I'm your show host, Robert. Don't forget to check out our website, GulfstreamMotorsports.com. Did I miss something? Am I out of sync here? I can't.
Well, they're called listeners. You call them listeners.
I call them listeners.
So you say, okay,
Hey.
listeners.
I don't even know what I just.
But you said,
what?
okay, you're tuned. You actually did what I said originally and just say, welcome to Nostalgic Radio and Cars. But you're listening to Nostalgic Radio and Cars. but you like your okay listeners. So I said, okay, listeners. You can have.
All right. Well, check out the website, GulfstreamMotorsports.com. If you want to find out more about us, definitely go there. And don't forget, if you missed any of our past shows, check out NostalgicRadioandCars.com. And you can find out you can listen to all our past shows. Now, where I'm going with this today, we got a really busy show tonight. And because there's a couple big things going on. But anyway, I did want to talk about one thing I did today. Obviously, you guys know that I deal in classic and antique cars, and I was in the wrecking yard business, blah, 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 blah. But one of the things I do is I do appraisals, pre-purchase inspections, and so on and so on and so on. I cannot overemphasize, do not buy a car sight unseen without inspection. I was hired to go do a PPI on a car today. And it's a 69 Chevelle. It was at a place that was on consignment. And again, you can't tell by the pictures. Well, when I got there, the car was really a turd. It really was. I mean, it looked good in the pictures, but it was a turd. And there's some clues in the pictures, those of us that know cars, obviously, but the prospective buyer didn't. But we're talking a $50,000, $60,000 car for a 69 Chevelle SS 396 car that was bogus. It just wasn't even nice. But at any rate, at the same facility, there was a really, really, really nice SS 396 for a little bit more money. But if somebody made a concerted effort to really, really try to restore the car was restored back in 2012, 13, 14, or something like that, and owned by a guy. But this guy, you can tell, loved the car because the car was detailed. It ran good. It was a 4-speed car. It was a bench seat car. It had tacking gauges. It had sports steering wheel. It had a 12-bolt underneath it like it's supposed to. Had a big block in it. May not have been a matching numbered motor, but did have a 4-speed on it. Did have a 12-bolt. Did have a sway bar, quasi F41 suspension. But anyway, that car turned out to be a really, really nice car. So I'm just going to leave it there, and I'll pick up the story later because we have our guests waiting for us. But so we'll see what happens, and I'll bring you guys up to speed as the saga of the two SS 396.
Well, he's
Chevelles.
actually on his way out to his truck, so he needs a few more minutes. So
he does.
Go ahead and finish your saga.
All right, I'll finish my saga. The saga of the tale of the two 69 SS 396 Chevelles. Okay, so the Cortez silver car with the black vinyl top that was crooked as could be. And I mean, if you're going to put a car together, at least clean and detail the bottom. It was nasty looking, like you just drug it out of the field. Okay, the bumper was off to one side. I mean, and, with the felt strips, when you put on the eyebrow strips that are on the doors when the doors go up and down. Okay, I mean they were screwed on. They're supposed to be stapled on. Okay, when you open the door, you could hear the glass and the driver's door banging around like it was loose. Put the brackets in there. Just things like that. That's an instant turnoff. The checking in the paint, cracks, molding not fitting right, the seat upholstery not fitting, on and on. The list goes on. But the blue 69 Chevelle with all the proper markings and all the stuff. Now I don't buy in all that kind of stuff, but still, it was extremely clean. Off the nut and bolt restoration. Yeah, it had some sheet metal done, had rockers put on it, had trunk floor, some lower patch panels, stuff like that. But everything to fit and finish was really, really, really nice. And clean, as an excellent presentation, sat level, it didn't six inches off the ground like the 4x4 SS 396 Cortez silver car. But you got to understand, when these guys are selling the cars, they're in consignment cars. All right, so they're selling the cars, and they're not going to say nothing because they're in the business to sell cars. There's a huge markup in these things. It could be anywhere between 10 to 20% on these cars, depending on what the seller is asking for. And the consignment facilities are, they're going to mark it up whatever they can. Now, there are a handful of them out there that actually own the cars, but the majority of them are consignment shops. But you got to hire someone that knows cars to take a look at these things. Otherwise, you're going to be out $50,000, $60,000. The car's going to go halfway across the country, and you're going to be very, very, very upset. Do we have to call him back, or is he going to call us? Why don't you go ahead and give him another holler?
Like 7:20 or something. He thought 7:30 is when
Oh, no. We can't. That's not going to work out. Okay. Well, anyway, I'll tell you what we'll do is.
We can give a couple more minutes. And then...
Yeah, because we have to call our other guest at 7:20. In fact, you know what we ought to do? We ought to just go ahead and call him, and we'll just, darn, that's going to. You know what? The thing about radio is it is spontaneous. Okay. So how that kind of works is we try to schedule people, and they usually show up on time. Kind of like if you have to make an appointment, and then once in a while, we get a little overlap. It's kind of like double booking, I guess you could call it, like in the airline business. But anyway, it happens. It's no big deal. But we're radio, we're live, and we're cool and we're casual about it. Right, Bobby? Mm-hmm. But at any rate, why don't you just go ahead and give him another shot, see if he's available, and then just, because we have to get this other guy on the show, and, as the show must go on, as they say, and but at any rate, so yeah, again, I cannot emphasize that. And of course, one of the other cars I did here recently, but this was just an appraisal, it was a 67 Shelby. And of course, I'm one of the state reps for the Shelby Club. I'm very partial to Shelbys. And it was a really, really, really nice car. Same thing. This gentleman owned this car since 1975. So it's got a really good history. Going back to the Chevelle, in the trunk, the correct spare tire or correct looking spare tire, the jack assembly, the tie down, everything was in there placed properly. The trunk floor mat in there properly. The splatter paint that they use, okay, the speckle paint, okay, they use in Chevrolets throughout the whole Chevrolet line was all correct. Just the fit and finish, even the plugs in the trunk were put in properly. No oozing of the seam sealer and stuff like that. Just really, really nice car. Hey, look, we got our special guest on the show. Our first special guest for the evening. His name's Lawrence Green. Lawrence is the CEO and founder of Henderson Auto Auctions, based out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and they got a big event going on this weekend at our good friends up there in Birmingham, Alabama. Actually, it's Leeds, and at Barber Motorsports. And I'm delighted to welcome to the show this evening, Lawrence Green. Lawrence, how are you this evening?
I'm great, but I want to correct one thing.
All right, go ahead.
I am the CEO, but I am by no means the founder. Marvin Henderson founded the company over 65 years ago.
Oh, really? So this is a senior auction company, basically. It's been around for a while.
We're one of the oldest family-owned auction companies in the country, and collector cars is just a small part of what we do. We do heavy construction equipment auctions, and we sell ships and shipyards and a commercial maritime division, but we love collector cars. It's our passion. We all enjoy them ourselves and have collections ourselves. And so we've done throughout the years, done collector car auctions, and now we're doing them on a very regular basis at the Barber Museum.
Interesting. Well, I'm surprised Ritchie Breslin hasn't knocked on your door and bought you out like they did Lake and everybody else that's going on, Iron Planet and everybody like that.
Well, yeah.
No comment. I get it. Well, okay. Let's talk about this weekend, the big extravaganza, the big auction at Barber Motorsports Museum. Tell us a little bit about some of the cars that are going to be there.
Yeah, well, as you know, Barber's a really special place, and they have had auction companies in the past. Bonhams has had some auctions here, but we've made an agreement with them to have regular auctions here. And so this weekend marks our second that we've had here. We've been involved in some other events, but this is our second auction inside the museum, which is really fantastic. It's none of the Barber collection is part of the auction, but they host it for us, which is spectacular. They're a great team to work with. And we have a limited number of cars. We cap it at about 100 cars. I think we have about 90 cars and a handful of motorcycles and scooters and things like that. A little bit of memorabilia, some unrestored antique outboards and things like that. But we have some great cars. It's a really special sale. We have cars for all types of people. So we have project cars and muscle cars and exotics and air-cooled flat six Porsches and a little 356 that you and I were talking about. That's a gorgeous little car. Mm-hmm. We also have a great pre-war collection this time of Packards, Rolls Royces, and several French cars, including a Peugeot Darlemont from 1938, a Delahaye that was hidden away from the Nazis and was owned by a member of the French Resistance and used in a parade to celebrate the liberation of Annecy in France in 1944. And some very neat cars. So we have the lowest mile 1970 Hemi Cuda in existence. It has 87 original miles on it.
Jeez. All right. So if people want to find out more about this auction this weekend, how do they go about doing it? And can they bid online?
They can. They can bid through two platforms. You can go to HendersonMotorSeries.com. HendersonMotorSeries.com. And there you can register directly through our website, or you can bid through proxy bid.
Okay.
And, so there's two ways to bid online. A lot of people are already signed up with proxy bid, and they're welcome to use that platform, or you can sign up directly through our website and use our platform. We have an app, Henderson Auctions app, and you can do it on your phone or at a laptop.
Okay, so what are the fees, the selling fees? Or in other words, if I'm a buyer, my buyer fees, my seller fees, are they what, 10%?
Yeah, your buyer fee is $100 to register for the auction unless you're coming to our VIP event, but it's already full, so you're not doing that if you're just hearing about this for the first time. So there are some VIP bidders that we have a party for the night before, and we have brunch the next day. But in this case, you pay $100 to be a registered bidder, and then you would pay a 10% buyer's premium on the sale. Okay.
Now, the cars that are going through this, is this does this a collection that kind of belongs to one person, or is this multiple cars? If I wanted to put a car in here, had I known in advance, would I be able to participate in that as well?
You could. We accept limited consignments. Again, we cap it, but we do try to look for all kinds of cars because we have customers of all different budgets. And this particular group of cars, about 28 of these cars, some of the French cars I mentioned and the Rolls Royce, are all from one collection.
Okay.
It's very interesting. It rarely ever happens, but that collection was seized by a bank, and so we're actually selling them for the bank. And this gentleman had a reversal of fortune, and we will have a subsequent auction later on in the fall that'll have the rest of his collection that we anticipate. But right now, these are the ones that the bank has sent to us so far, and they're selling without reserve, so it makes it very rare opportunity. It's high six-figure and low seven-figure value cars that are selling without reserve. So very impressive collection there. But then the rest are from just other collectors or individuals that own an individual nice car, and it's time to trade and do something different. So we have some modern cars, and
Okay, and then my consignment fee. If I want to consign a car and I want to sell it there, is there an additional consignment fees or anything like that, or is it just a flat seller's fee?
No, there is. There is a consignment fee of $600 if it makes the cut and gets on the museum floor. It's $300 if it's outside. We have a tent outside, and so we can only fit about 45 cars on the floor of the museum, and so the rest of them are in a tent outside. And it's $600 if they're inside and $300 if they're outside. And and then you pay a commission based on if it's got a reserve, then it's an 8% seller's commission. If there's no reserve, then you pay no fee, and it's 6%.
Oh, interesting. Okay, well, that's pretty reasonable. All right, well, Lawrence, you know what? I want to thank you for hanging out with us for a few minutes, but we'll have to get you back here. The next auction that you can do is when?
It's going to be in the fall. We haven't set the date yet, but it'll be in September or October.
Okay, so it'll be also at the Barber Motorsports Museum, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, well, super. We will touch base with you between now and then. We will have you back again. You can highlight some of your cars, talk a little bit about Henderson Auto Auction or Henderson Auction, and we'll talk about some of the other stuff that you do. I'd like to find out more about the marine stuff, the salvage stuff, and all the other interesting things that you guys sell. So that sounds kind of fascinating. Okay. Well, very good. Lawrence, thank you for hanging out with us here at Nostalgic Radio and Cars. The best of luck to you this weekend. If I can make it up there on a short notice, I might just like to check that out. Now, the auction is what? Just Saturday, or is it Saturday and Sunday?
Just Saturday. Auction begins at 10 a.m. Central Time on Saturday. And you're welcome to come. The public is welcome to come. If they pay the museum their entrance fee, they can watch the auction. Or if you would like to be a registered bidder, you just come and pay $100 and you're a registered bidder.
Wow. Simple as that. Sounds good. Well, thank you very much. I will be keeping my eye on the 356. So
beauty. It's a beauty. That's a rare sunroof.
It's French sunroof car, and it actually has a V roof in it too, which is actually cool, which is correct for 56. So thank you for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
Hey, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Good luck. Bye-bye. All right, you're tuned into Nostalgic Radio Cars. I'll touch that dial. We'll be right back with our very special guest for the evening. And it is Joey Mullen's birthday today from Badfinger. So here's a little Badfinger. We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial. Stay with us.
If you want it anytime, I can give it. But you better catch? Will you walk away from a fool and his money? Sonny, if you want it, here it is. Come and get it. But you better hurry, 'cause it's going fast. You better hurry, 'cause it's going.
Okay, we're back, and you tune into Nostalgic Radio and Cars. And it's time to introduce our special guest for the evening. This gentleman is a musician extraordinaire. Is probably the easiest way to describe him. Composer, multi-talented, and he was with a group at one point called Star People, if I have this correct. I'm delighted to welcome to the show this evening, Randy Pratt. Randy, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Hi, how are you?
So give us a little background on yourselves. How did it all begin? How did the music career begin for you?
I started late. In my mind, it started when I saw the Beatles on the cover of Life magazine in 1964. But it took me till I was about 27 years old to start really actually practicing and taking myself seriously, which probably lost me the 10 years I needed to go a little further in the business than I did. But I have no complaints. I've played with all my childhood heroes that are still around, and it's been a great ride. The Beatles started it off, so definitely.
Well, it's interesting because I remember 1964. I grew up in Northern California, and I remember the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, and that's kind of what got me going. Yeah, that and Elvis. So,
how old were you?
In '64, I was 6, 7, somewhere around there.
I'm a little older than you. Yeah,
just a little.
A little wiser. Yeah.
A lot wiser.
I'm more of a wise guy.
Yeah. No, cool. Where are you from originally?
I was born in South Carolina, but I only lived there for 5 months because my dad was in the Navy. So I say I'm from New York. That's where I was brought up.
Okay. Well, no, that's cool.
On Long Island, suburban Long Island, but I didn't really become a rock star until I moved into the city in 1978 when New York City was the capital for rock and roll of the entire universe for a brief period there, which I reveled in. And I think it was a combination of me stopping drinking, walking off the stage with one of my bands, and having Buzzy Linhart, who I knew played with Hendrix and wrote a couple of #1 singles, grab my arm and say I was a great bass player, which I said, I'm never drinking again. And the fact that I was competing with punk rock instead of bands like Yes and King Crimson and stuff like that, that I got the nerve to really dig in and start my insane practice regimen. And like every well, I'll say rock star drummer that I played with, like the two Appice brothers and Bobby Rondinelli and guys like that, they say, Randy, you know nobody practices it this much, right? And I go, and I would just kind of go do it. I don't know if I was doing it out of insecurity or a part 50% and 50%. I just wanted to be great. But Bobby told me recently, and he said, that's the best playing in my whole career. And I said, okay, good. That's why I practice that much. But
so what all instruments do you play? Now
I just play bass and harmonica, really.
Okay.
But I write lyrics and I conceptualize. I mean, every band that I've done is kind of has a defined image, and especially Star People, the band that you're talking about right now, was one of the more complex conceptual bands that I ever did. I had done some comedy bands with two of the guys in the band, the two stand-up lead singers. One of them was a professional actor and comedian, improviser, and I knew he could pull it off, and I started to create this really complex story. And while we were touring the band, that movie came out with that had the woman from Alien in it, and the guy from the movie about the aliens getting the TV signals from Earth and worshiping us and thinking that the guys in Star Trek were going to save their planet or something. That came out, and that was part of our story, was that we were getting the signals from Earth and that we were worshiping Earth people, and there was a lot of Rat Pack. We dressed. I looked around at the band. Nobody had good hair, so I got to think of another image. So I had to wear a short hair wig, and everybody else. We all wore tuxedos, so we were aliens from the 11th dimension worshiping the Rat Pack coming to Earth to try to get onto the radio to become immortal, because the signal from Earth goes into a black hole and goes all through time and space. And that's kind of the setup for the story. Simple little setup.
Yeah.
But there was a female violin player who sang with them also, and when we were touring, she said, we got to do some dance routines. So we would stop at a rehearsal place in Atlanta and work out all these. It was great. It was like progressive rock, heavy, and I remember saying to the guys, don't ever wink at the audience, like make them laugh at us because we're so damn serious. So that was kind of the vibe of the band. And the band broke up after touring the country a lot with Dream Theater and Dixie Dregs and bands like that, and Ozark Tentacles, if anybody ever heard of them, but they were popular everywhere we went, even in Kansas. The band broke up in 2001, and I started, I had another band. I always had another band in the wings, but I loved the band, and there was an album completed in the vault. So the singer, we call him the teacher, the guy with the deep voice who does a lot of the narration and stuff on the thing, explaining the nature of the universe within the songs. Was very ill, and I started to say to me, we got to finish this record. And we finished, and in the process of finishing it, I kind of wrote another one in 2021. So the release that you have is the original unreleased third album of the band, and then a later one with the whole band reunited and a couple of guest stars and stuff like that. So I don't know. You got any of that? Are you going to play any of the stuff?
Bobby, you know what? Why don't you look up, see if we can get some of his on the computer there real quick. See if we can come on. Is there anyone in particular you want to hear, Randy? What do you think we should play?
The first song.
All right.
They're all good.
All right. While he's looking for that, so we'll talk. Who are some of the other well-known people that you've played with? You mentioned Carmen Apiece. We know Carmen. He's been on our show before.
Oh, cool. Yeah, he's in Florida now.
Yeah.
My brother has a place down there too, but he's up north now for the summer. I'm spending my third summer in the desert in Las Vegas.
Do you like it out there?
My wife and I just became residents here. I do maintain my house in New York with a studio. The main recording studio is there. Yeah, we recorded that Cactus album last year. I wasn't even there. I did my parts down here, and I trust Carmine. I reunited the Vanilla Fudge and Cactus in my recording studio, and my band's open for them all over the planet. And I play. And when I reunited Cactus, by the grace of God, I had just been playing the harmonica long enough to pull off a gig, and so I was in it from the first gig, and Tim Booker's like my favorite bass player. So I mean, when he was in the room, I was a harmonica player, But so those are those two bands. But recently, I've been doing albums using modern technology in a way that's interesting. I'll get together with a drummer and write stuff bass first, and I have this massive pedal board setups now. I've completely changed my sound. And I could never take this stuff on the road. It's hilarious. I'm looking at it right now. It's the guy, the top tech guy from the Killers, the band The Killers, is down here in Vegas, and he made me this pedal setup that's beyond anything I've ever seen. And I play with a drummer, and then we start from the bass and drums up. And I did a whole album with Carmine on bass. I hadn't played with him on bass until after like 20 years. I think I was intimidated. but it's killer. So that's the way I'm doing some records now, a string of records. I find a great singers, and including my wife. My wife happily turned out to be a great singer. She's done an album called Joyous, and I did 7 albums during lockdown. I was always the band leader, and the amount of time it took to be like they were rehearsing at my house, recording at my house, dressing everybody up. I never met another guy who had enough fashion sense that I didn't have to dress them. In my whole now, one band, the Fuzztones. That guy is my first serious band, and that guy taught me a lot about how to be a band boss and stuff like that. I'm a benevolent boss. I collaborate really well with other people, so I've never been accused of stealing something from somebody musically. But if anything, I give too much credit. But as a bass player, it's interesting. I've read every issue of Bass Player magazine, and I never heard a famous bass player say he writes songs on bass.
Well, now I'll elaborate it for that. We had who'd we have on our show last week, Bobby? My memory's bad. We had Chuck Wright on. Chuck Wright. Okay, so Chuck is also a bass player, but he also plays multiple instruments. But when he writes his songs, pardon me?
What band was he from?
Well, he played with God, my memory.
Quiet Riot.
Quiet Riot. Yeah, he was the bassist for Quiet Riot. God, you know what? I don't know how old you are. I'm 65, and my memory is like terrible. But you're what?
I'm 68. So.
Oh, you only got a few. Wow, geez. Okay, well, so at least you can still think. But nonetheless,
no, my memory's
pretty bad too.
I know Chuck Wright from something. Is he?
Well, he worked with Alice Cooper and a number of other bands too. And
was he in the last version of Rainbow?
Was he with Rainbow? I'm not sure. He might have been.
That's the 70s thing. Yeah, I believe so.
I don't know. I don't know if he was or not. That's Rainbow. Wasn't that Richie Blackmore's group? Well, at any rate, but you're right. Because when he writes his songs, he either sits down to a keyboard or he plays with a 6-string. You're the first person that's a bassist that.
But I don't play guitar, so.
So when you write a song as a bassist, what do you come up with? Because like we always talk about, the bass line and the drummers are really the beat of the music. You're the timing, you're the beat, you're the when you hear a bass guitar, the bass line, you're just like boom. It's got the sound, and everything else, the guitars, the keyboards and everything, that's all instrumental. And that's kind of like some guys just jokingly say it's fluff, but I mean, you're still a talented musician as well. But
well, you wouldn't say that if you heard. Probably my greatest strength, even when I try to be in a band where I'm the worst guy in the band. I try to play with people who are better than me. As far as how well they play their instruments, but Bobby said to me once, he goes, all these guys that you think are better than you, well, you're always so self-deprecating, everything. He said, you get in a room with them to write a song and they got nothing. I said, I've been playing with you for 8 years, and it's like, you're always the first guy playing. So, I mean, I for some reason, even though I've kind of gotten over my insecurities to some degree, but I keep the company I keep, it keeps me on my toes for sure. But the riffs just keep coming. I mean, it is amazing. It amazes me. And I think that's probably, why the bass first thing is working. It's if the bass parts are really interesting, I write lyrics and the vocal melodies and stuff, and then I just turn it over to the guitar player that I think I hear in my head playing on it. And maybe sometimes I give him direction, but a lot of times I try not to. I like the feeling of creating something with somebody.
Does your music have kind of a vintage flair to it, or is it contemporary?
I think I'm all over the place. I always call myself a metalhead because starting in high school in like class of 71, before that phrase was even barely invented. But really, before that, just looking for the most badass stuff I could find, and I was, James Brown. This is my thing when I say what people say, what is your sound? I go, I'm looking for the sweet spot where James Brown and Black Sabbath meet.
Okay.
There's similarities between those two, believe it or not. Like their arrangements they have arrangements that sound like kind of jarring when they make a change in a song. It's kind of and it's not smooth, and it's very riff oriented, both of them, and they're both the most intense in their own arena. So those are my two favorite styles. I guess is really great 70s funk, and I mean Black Sabbath to me is my favorite heavy metal sound. I'm not a big fan of stuff much later than that, but I listen to everything. Actually, I watched some Megadeth last night. I like that band. And I went through a prog period where I saw the original King Crimson at the Fillmore with Greg Lake. I mean, I saw every lineup of that band. I love them, and I think basically just heavy, funky riff rock. And there's not that many guys doing it. I mean, there was a band called Trapeze. Do you know them?
No, not familiar at all.
It's one of those bands that becomes a super group after the fact. The drummer went on to Judas Priest during their whole most popular period. Glenn Hughes was the bass player, went on to Deep Purple and Black Country Communion and all that stuff. And he's back on. The guitar player was in Whitesnake. But that band and Pat Travers, that's kind of funky and kind of heavy at the same time, and a lot of riffs. Okay.
Well, we had Pat on our show too. Because he lives over here in Orlando, so we had him on our show. When I was growing up, I was a big Deep Purple
album with Pat on every song.
Really?
I've toured with Pat a lot. Yeah, he recorded at my house. He recorded an album with Carmine at my house.
No kidding.
Original Melody Maker hanging on my wall, and I had this series of records called Ruffians, where it's me and the drummer from the Plasmatics or Bobby Rondinelli, generally are the main guys that I'm using. But then I got one with Carmine. Said, "How come I'm not?" So I did a whole record with him, and Pat's on every song on this one, and it just came out killer.
We'll have to find that one too. All right, so Bobby's got the album queued up. Pick a song off this. This is from the 2001.
Yeah, let's do the first one. I Star Man, I think it's called.
5-Star Man, you got that one, Bobby?
I Star Man, yeah.
I Star Man, yes, I do. Hang on here.
We're gonna flip that one real quick. So we'll play a few bars of that, right?
No, more than a few bars. You want to get the solo section.
Okay. Randy?
Yep.
Who's singing on that?
That's Paul Gifford, and Bill Oland is the deep voice.
Okay.
Violin player his name is Lorenzo Ponce.
I was going to say, I heard the violin in there. Now that's got a little bit of got a little Black Sabbath, little Kansas, a little everything in there.
Let it go. It's just getting to the heavy part.
Okay. You want to get?
Show.
Is there a little David Bowie influence in there
A little
too?
bit, probably. This is not typical of anything else I've ever done. But there's a great violin and guitar battle towards the end, past this one.
Interesting. Okay, so now is this kind of like in the direction you're moving in, or do you get back in?
No, that was a one-time. The guitar player was probably the first guy that really turned me on to music after the Beatles. I just kind of didn't pay attention to anything but the Beatles, you know. And he turned in ninth grade. He turned me on to King Crimson and all these progressive bands, and that kind of educated me. And I never got to do a band with him. And then when I moved out of the city to start my studio, I happened to live right next door to where he lived, and we just finally did this band together. And it has a lot of his influence of proggy sci-fi, which I've never really done anything else like it. But it was. I mean, people loved it. I got great reviews, and we did some great tours.
So what's next for you? What are some of the future projects you're working on?
What I'm doing now, I'm retired from touring.
Okay.
The last band I did was ended in 2015. I got married to my beautiful new wife, and I said, you know what, maybe I won't have the house be a fraternity house anymore. Nonstop men walking through the house in the morning before you wake up and stuff like that. Yeah. But I had developed such a great team of collaborators and not just engineers, but engineers who, I mean, the engineer that I'm working with now, he's an Emmy-winning engineer. He's a professor, a college professor who teaches engineering, and he works great with me. And the other guy that I was my main engineer before him. The same thing. We've written so many songs together that you get these guys that. When my father told me, he was a businessman, he said, surround yourself with the best people and let them run with the ball as long as you can until you need to step in and say, keep the direction where you want it going, you know. But so I'm in the process. I've done it, but I don't think it's really. It hasn't really lifted off yet in a big way. I've got a Facebook page, a business Facebook page where I theoretically can have 1 million people on it or something, and basically putting every record I've ever done. I've got 27 up there now, but I've got these 7 more that I just finished, and finding stuff in the vaults and stuff. And I've been a workaholic for like 42 years, and for the Facebook page, there's a link to the website. You can just go directly to the website, which is hyperspacerecords.com. And it has all my records up there for free. It has videos, live videos, MTV kind of videos, all the press and photographs and stuff like that. And it's all kind of all up there like a library. And I'm in the process of tweaking that as I go along, and we have that was our first release, actually, the Star People record, and it's in release now. The reviews are starting to come in and stuff, and I put them up post them when they do. It's a challenge to get people to listen to music anymore. even if it's free. Even if you're somebody who says they're your fan and you put the music right in front of them on their computer and to get them to listen past like 2 or 3 songs, it's as hard as loading up a van and traveling around the country. As far as being successful at it, at least I'm just learning the way to make it happen like that. So.
Another question I got to ask you is, okay, so you're a bass guitarist. What is your instrument, your brand of bass guitar of choice? Or are you kind of like eclectic about it? Do you collect them?
I have. I'm looking right now at just the handful that I have that I brought to Vegas with me. Federa, I would say, is the best bass maker in the world, and I've had. So, God, I've had every kind of boutique bass practically. Not everyone, obviously, but I have tons. I have for about 20 years. I played only 36-inch scale 6-string bass, and I thought I would never play 4-string again. Just like I thought in 1980 when I moved into the city, that I got rid of all my beautiful denim bell bottoms because I said that's not my music, and then I had to try to have somebody make them for me. So I got rid of a lot of my 4-strings. So then I've got 4 strings again. I'm looking at a 1960 red precision bass, which is that's like the Mona Lisa or something to be.
Oh yeah, Fender P bass. Yeah, absolutely.
But you know what? It's something about me. It's so commonly accepted as the bass that I try not to play. I'd like to play something else just for that reason. It's great, but I use it. But I've got Federa made me a non-reverse Thunderbird, which is kind of like Ferrari making you a Prius or something, but it's the best Thunderbird in the world, I guess. But I've got a lot of Thunderbirds, and with Federa, I found we developed a way to balance the Thunderbirds because they have this famously neck-heavy thing. And I've got a synth bass here. I've got a Spectre, which I used to have one in the 80s in the city, and somebody said that was the great size. So I said I would have swore I wasn't going to buy another bass, but I bought that one. That's what I got down here, and some synth bass, which I haven't figured out how to make useful yet. But in New York, I've got 62 precision bass, and it's great. It's a Midas bass.
How about an EB3? You got one of those?
I had one, and I even had I wanted one with a paint strip so I could paint it, because this guy, when I moved into the house in the suburbs from a 1-bedroom apartment in the city, I had all this wall space, and I had a friend in the city who used to paint airbrush motorcycles for Hell's Angels, who were right in my neighborhood. Was the Hell's Angels headquarters in New York City, and this guy would paint their motorcycles. So he came out, and right before I really got into music, the thing I got into before music was Mars Attacks bubblegum cards. That was like my Star Wars or Star Trek is to some people now. I was so into them. You probably never even heard of them. It was a set of 52 bubblegum cards that they made the movie. It was Tim Burton made a movie of it because somebody gave him the bubblegum cards. But this guy painted my whole house, all the walls with murals of like the Martians attacking in outer space and flying saucers. So I had a EB3 that I painted like that right around that time. And I just found that a short scale, I was playing a 36-inch scale, which is 2 inches longer than a normal bass. It just felt like a toy to me, and I gave it to my friend. So I guess the Gibson I play is the Thunderbirds. But I have a collection of vintage Thunderbirds, so.
Well, cool. Well, Randy, we are up against the clock, but I'll tell you what, you are a lot of fun, and it was a real treat having you on the show. So I would love to invite you back on the show again, and we can talk a little bit more and get some more stories stuff going. Absolutely. And I think that would be kind of a blast. Every summer we do like a music segment for 4 to 6 weeks or something like that. We have musicians on.
After I hang up.
Hello?
Are you gonna play a song off that?
No. Well, yeah, we could probably play one right after we hang up. But right now we're up against the clock. So when the clock says click, 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 we're off the air. So the show's over. But
all right.
we'll play a song as we're going out, and then
we had nothing planned to say.
No, we did fine. You did fine. It was great. It was great stories, and that's what it is. And we got to get to know you a little bit. So that was a real treat in itself. But Randy, again, we want to thank you for coming out and the radio show with us here at Nostalgic Radio and Cars and telling a little bit about yourself. And we will play your music from time to time. How about that?
I'll send you some.
Well, that'll work too. All right.
I'm about to do another release with Billy anyway. So, all right, buddy. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Very good. Well, thank my special guest, Randy Pratt. I'm going to say from the Star People. So you have to look that up. But be sure and check out his Facebook page and hyperspacerecords.com. Okay. So in the meantime, I want to thank all my listeners for tuning into Nostalgic Radio and Cars. Don't forget to check us out here every Tuesday between 7 and 8 p.m. on the Tan Talk Radio Network. And we'll see you at some of the car shows. Monterey Collector Car Week's coming on. If you want to find out where all the car shows are, FLA.com. What is it, Bobby?
FLAcarshows.com.
Something like that, yeah. So
everywhere in the state.
Yep, and hopefully with a little luck, we'll have a few more musical guests coming on the show here in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned.
And I see a Rib Shack sign going up on Drew Street, so stay tuned.
Yes. Hey, stay safe, drive carefully, and love your family.
To the other side. Bring on to the other side. Bring on to out. Oh, yeah. Rain to see, week to week, day to day, hour to hour, day straight, deep and wide. Bring on to the other side. Bring on to the other side. Bring on to, bring on to, bring on to, bring on to.
WTAN, Clearwater.
FM 106.1.
WDCF, Dade City.
FM 102.3.
WZHR, Zephyrhills.
FM 104.3.
Listen.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by NHTSA.
I'm Jennifer Kuiper in Chicago. Senate bargainers say they have an agreement at hand on a bipartisan gun bill, and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says an initial vote could come as soon as tonight. CBS's Scott McFarland with more on the measure.
Priorities